What's going on, all you wild musical biopic enthusiasts out there? Two favorite critics are back tonight, and we are reviewing a film that had a lot of buzz around the Academy Awards season this year. Um, Nominated film for many categories. It's the new James Mangold film. It's starring Timothee Chalamet, and he's playing Bob Dylan. What's the name of the film, son?
Dune 2, a complete unknown. So how does it feel?
You're making quite a noise down there. Who wrote this?
We're getting a glimpse of the future. He's our
I want
Elvis.
to know which side he's
What
on.
do you want to be?
You're kind of an asshole, Bob.
I got these special binoculars, and they allow me to see into your soul.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
That's right. And we were talking about the brand new Bob Dylan biopic, going over a time in his life where he was a relatively unknown musician. He arrives in New York City with just his guitar. It's 1961. He's a young man and he's got a penchant for writing a tune there, son.
Yeah, this is a biopic. Of course, young Bob Dylan played by Timothee Chalamet, 1961, showing up in New York City. I think he's from Minnesota. Unknown kid, really hungry, wants to make music. All he has is his guitar and some clothes and makes his way to New York City, of course. Gets introduced to some people having to do with folk music. Of course, I'm talking about Pete Seeger, played by Edward Norton, and his amazing receding hairline, much like
Hairpiece,
mine.
yeah.
Getting introduced to Pete Seeger, of course, he's a big known, folk singer back then. Really brings in an audience. He can really control the audience. And, young Bob Dylan here, looking up to him as like a role model. And they, of course, form this really nice relationship. Pete, introduces him to some people, gets him in front of, crowds. They start liking Bob Dylan, what he has to say in his music. He's talented and really sets up his career.
Sets up his career and he gets to meet some of his heroes in this film too. Woody Guthrie, played by Scoot McNairy, is going through a health issue in the movie and sort of mentors a young Bob Dylan and inspires him, in his young career. And Timothy Chalamet in this film really inhabits Bob Dylan's spirit and character and everything. Whether or not he looks like him, that's another thing. But it's really about the performance and the authenticity of it and how he plays it. Even the music, when they're doing the musical scenes, Chalamet and his co-star Monica Barbaro, who played Joan Baez, they actually sing their own versions of Bob Dylan's songs. So it's pretty impressive. Plus, they play all the musical parts too, the harmonica, the guitar, and all that. So the actors definitely went all in this movie, and that's pretty much what I really respected and admired about this film the most, the acting. Whereas, the music itself, not a big Bob Dylan fan at all, only really know the Complete Unknown song that he does at the end. And really, that's what this movie's about. It's about a rising Bob Dylan as a folk singer, and then him getting a little bit of success, and then him deciding to go off and do something totally different with his, type of music and his playing, and goes electric. And that really causes an uproar and a lot of people to kind of turn their backs on him. But it's about him overcoming that and, being successful, obviously. And it has some pretty good scenes with him, live performances, like we mentioned, and specifically with him and Monica Barbaro, who plays Joan Baez there. They had some really good, not only musical scenes, but also relationship scenes where they meet and sort of are falling in love on the side. And whereas Bob already has a woman that is interested in him, and they've been in a close relationship from the start. Sylvie Russo, played by Elle Fanning, whereas they don't really have anything musically in common. So like when Bob's not home with her, he's on stage, obviously, and that's Joan is very much the same as him, trying to make it in the music business and coming up in this time in the 60s, and then them meeting and falling in love. And, it kind of forms this relationship between the two of them. And there's going to have to be a choice by the end of the film. Who's Bob going to go with? Is he going to go with Sylvie or does he want Joan?
Yeah, in this movie, like you were saying, it's really impressive the live performances aspect. You know, being a musician, I appreciate that Chalamet was singing the songs. It looked like he was playing the guitar too. It looked pretty authentic, looked real, like he was actually playing them. So props to him. That's no easy feat, just to, be an actor and pick up a guitar and learn all these songs. Not that Bob Dylan was a great singer or anything, but I thought it was very impressive. All the live performances I thought were the better parts of the movie for sure. And Chalamet really inhabits his character. He really turns into Bob Dylan throughout the film, being a young kid, being older, trying something new in his music, going a different route as an artist. You don't want to keep putting out the same record over and over again. You want to try different stuff and, of course, divide some fans and to get some new fans. But I thought Chalamet was really impressive. Elle Fanning, playing the girlfriend, she was also great in the film as well. A lot of big people in this. Edward Norton, of course, playing Pete was really great. Scoot McNairy, also enjoyed him. A lot of people that show up in this film. We even had Boyd Holbrook that played Johnny Cash, I guess a different Johnny Cash compared to like Joaquin Phoenix. I thought he'd be just more the rock side kind of badass guy, and I thought he was pretty good. But this is not one of the better biopics out there. This is no Walk the Line, but it's pretty impressive if you don't know too much about Bob Dylan and what he represented back then. And I really didn't. I'm not a Bob Dylan fan. Don't like his music, but I thought the story and what he kind of went through with politics and everything going on in the 1960s, I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said there. I felt pretty much the same, not being a huge Bob Dylan fan. Right there, that took me out of it just a little bit. It would have been cool to hear some music that we know and love. Like you mentioned, Walk the Line was damn near perfect biopic there. This one was lacking for me, but like you mentioned, I did very much appreciate and admire the actors actually trying to do the music themselves, play the guitar, sing, and not rely on like AI or the actual voice of Bob Dylan and Joan Baez. Yeah, there was a lot to enjoy about the film. I didn't find it to be a great biopic, but it kept me entertained throughout. I wasn't ever bored with it. Appreciated the performances here, and I liked how it covered that time in his life, and seeing Edward Norton here as Pete Seeger and seeing him in a role that we're not used to seeing him. Like, he's older now, and he actually is playing a character here that feels like an elder statesman. And I thought that his performance was good. And yeah, like you mentioned, his hair was wild on this, but it did make him look older. And yeah, it's kind of interesting to see Edward Norton as one of the older guys now. When we grew up with him, saw him when he was a young man, Fight Club and all those great movies he was in. But now seeing him in this role, that was interesting. Supporting role for him, Monica Barbaro. I thought she did a really great job as Joan. A great performance. I think it's probably as good, if not better, than Timothee Chalamet as Bob Dylan. I thought the two of them together were really good. So those two were the highlight of the film for me. So I'm going to wrap up my review here of A Complete Unknown and say that it's definitely worth a watch. It's not great, but it's pretty good. So I am going to give A Complete Unknown. I'll give it a 3.5 out of 5 Pete Seeger hair pieces.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with most of what you said as well. I think the big thing for me is just I'm not that interested in Bob Dylan or his life or his music. From that aspect, I wasn't excited, but I will say it was interesting. It's worth a watch. Chalamet's great. Monica Barbaro, Elle Fanning. There's a lot of great performances here. It's interesting to get some backstory on this artist, coming up in the 1960s, everything he went through and his music revolution essentially, and that was pretty interesting. Just wasn't blown away by this movie. It wasn't as great as other biopics, but it's definitely worthy of a watch. And I don't think it was Oscar worthy, but it's pretty good. So with that being said, I'm gonna give A Complete Unknown. I'm gonna give it a 3.5 out of 5. Timothée Chalamet hair pieces. Paula Atreides. Anyways, I want to hear from all you folk artists out there. What did you like about A Complete Unknown? What didn't you like about it? What's your favorite Bob Dylan song? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe.
Like a rolling stone.
Also, check out these Bob Dylan impersonators on Facebook, X, and Instagram, and our website, Cinephellas.com, for the latest, greatest TV, movie news, and folk reviews. That about wraps it up for this movie review. I'm Logan Dillon. That's my good mate over there.
And I'm Henry Bias. And until the next Cinephellas movie review. Cheers.
Cheers.